Hey, what's going on, YouTubers all over the world? You already know who it is. It's your boy Mikey Savage 21 or MS21, whatever the heck you want to call me. Thank you again for tuning into the channel. Hope you all have had a blessed Christmas, a blessed New Year, and a blessed New Year's Eve. It is 2017, and we got a whole slew of films coming out. We got some ones that we are looking forward to, but today we're going to be spotlighting the worst movies of 2016, myself and my guest star. But before we get into the list, take a listen to a word from our sponsor. Are you an up-and-coming musician or artist, and you're looking to build yourself an official website or a brand website? Then Bandzoogle is the place that you need to go. And if you're subscribed to this channel, then you guys already know that that's how exactly I got my website. What I really like about Bandzoogle is it's really hands-on, but it's easy to do. You can create such intricate and delicate website layouts with the simple plugins and features that they have. Or you can, if you are more so into designing your own website, you're able to design it yourself. So everyone here who is subscribed to Mikey Savage 21 is going to get an exclusive link. And if you use this exclusive link, you are able to get a free 30-day trial, no credit card required trial for Bandzoogle. So, hey, subscribe to the channel because I have more offers and stuff like this coming up, as well as the gift card giveaway. With that being said, let's jump straight into the topic. All right, so we are counting down the worst movies of 2016. Now, we're just going to keep this simple. We're going to do the top 10 films. I have 5, and then my guest, he's going to list his 5. And then we're just going to defend our case of why we think that movie was so bad or why it deserves to be on our list. But as usual, you guys already know, I got my boy Andy13 on here again, picking up what we left off from the last video. So, all right, guys, we're going to hop straight into it, and I'm going to start with my number 5 pick. So my number 5 pick that I have is going to be Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, I'm talking about the theatrical version, not the Ultimate Edition, which, you know, fixed a lot of the problems that I had with the theatrical version. We're talking strictly just theater. We're not going off of what we've seen in the DVD or the Blu-rays. I have actually seen the Blu-ray copies of all of these films that I'm going to list off, and the Blu-rays are a lot better than the theatrical versions. But yeah, Batman v Superman, I absolutely hated this film. And if you see my review, you can tell that I clearly hated this film. And I am a DC fanboy. I'm a DC sweaty. I love Marvel just a tad more, but not by a smidge, though. And this is the first of films that you had where it was superheroes versus superheroes. The next one being Captain America Civil War, and then the next one being, of course, X-Men Apocalypse. But Batman v Superman was just so disappointing of a film. I was looking so forward to the film. I was looking forward to what this story was going to tell, and instead I got a story of Superman and how he apparently is viewed as a bad guy apparently to the world, and we focus more so on him. And then, of course, they tie in the Batman origin as well, going ahead and setting that up. Then we also had the introduction to Wonder Woman and the rest of the members from the Justice League. This film didn't know what it wanted to be. It honestly crammed a lot into the film. I absolutely hated Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of Lex Luthor. I thought they should have went with their original choice of Bryan Cranston. I thought they could have told a better story, and it made a lot more sense. But as my friend has pointed out, this is not the definitive adult Lex Luthor. This is Lex Luthor Jr. So if they want to go the route of bringing in Bryan Cranston's character, they can. But yeah, for me, this was on my number at the bottom of the barrel for me. I absolutely hated the movie. I wanted to love it so bad. And again, I praise the Ultimate Edition. The Ultimate Edition did so much to this film. It is weird how just maybe about 10 minutes worth of footage can make all the difference. Excuse me, about 30 minutes worth of footage. You know, scenes added here, certain things explained here. But yeah, I could literally rant and rave about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. But yeah, what did you think about Batman v Superman?
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is actually number 2 on my worst list. So when we get to number 2, we can actually, skip that with me. I despise this movie. I hate everything it's about. I fell asleep in the movie theater. That is how much it bored me to tears. I love Superman. I love Batman. I love DC all around. Lex Luthor, one of my favorite villains right next to Sinestro. But they... I can't even begin to explain how much this movie makes me want to just scratch my face off and rip my hair out because it's so bad. You crammed 6 movies worth of crap into one. You introduced the Justice League with a freaking... I think it's a flash drive file. I can't remember. That was the part I fell asleep on.
Yes, it was. He had got a flash drive. He stole it from Lex Luthor's company. And I love how Lex Luthor had already given them names and had already given them their signature logos. They didn't explain that either.
There's only 2 things that I found that came good out of Batman vs. Superman. And that was Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Wonder Woman. That was it. I hated everything else about the movie. The fights sucked. The reason it stopped sucked. And I hate to say it, even the freaking director said it, and the screenwriter said it. Batman v Superman is where you go when you have exhausted all possibilities. They crammed 6 movies worth of crap into one, and the creation of Doomsday made me mad, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I could fill this whole video about Batman v Superman.
Yeah, man, I sympathize again with that. Batman v Superman was just... Oh boy. But all right, getting to your number 5, man. This is another controversial one that I know a lot of people are going to question themselves of why you have this on your list. So I hope you're prepared to explain yourself, man. But all right, what do you have for your next pick, man?
My number 5 choice was one I battled with for a long time because I love the characters, I love the movie series, I even love the villain. X-Men Apocalypse. This movie might have actually irritated me more than Batman vs. Superman. They wasted Oscar Isaac. They crammed at least 4 movies worth of crap into it. Everything. They don't explain the selection of the 4 horsemen. And just... it gives me headaches. They even got the origin of how Professor X went bald wrong. How do you mess up Professor X going bald? Again, this is another one I could fill this whole video with, but I'm just gonna leave it at X-Men fanboy, severely disappointed. The only 2 good things I found out of this. And I'll admit they rushed the Phoenix Saga, but I love that they introduced it because we finally get a chance to do it right, where they messed up in X-Men Last Stand.
If they decide to not redo the entire X-Men universe again, that is.
True. And that Wolverine cameo, because that Wolverine cameo was freaking awesome.
And in case you guys didn't know, this is going to have spoilers in there, but I'll make sure I have the appropriate titles in there so you guys know, yeah, we are going to spoil certain things in here because it goes to with the arguments. My thought on X-Men Apocalypse, and it actually did not make my list because I didn't want to have this full of like comic book superhero films because we got a lot of crappy ones, but then we also got a lot of great ones as well. My thoughts on X-Men Apocalypse, yes, I do think that everyone in here, they pretty much wasted. They had a central story. I think that what it was is they elevated our expectations so high because First Class was so great. And then Days of Future Past blew it out of the park. I mean, elevated it to a new plateau of X-Men films and the way that the story is told and how it makes sense. And then this is supposed to pick up right from that, like a few years later. And then they try to throw in the 4 Horsemen and the rebirth of Apocalypse. And then they try to throw in Magneto's storyline of how he's still conflicted. Then you throw in how Professor X went bald. Then you try to throw in hints of the Phoenix Saga. And then you still have the young X-Men that you're trying to train. And then they absolutely bastardized the character of, oh gosh, what's her name? See, they didn't even... No, not even Psylocke. I mean, Psylocke was a waste. I'm sorry, Olivia Munn was a waste in this film. But Jubilee. They wasted Jubilee. They didn't even let her say her name. You have to wait until the actual DVD Blu-ray version for them to actually hear her say her name. We knew it. If you're a comic book sweaty and you're a fan of the series, then you know, okay, obviously it's Jubilee. But to a normal movie goer, this is the same thing with Batman v Superman. They don't explain who these characters are. They expect you to know already ahead of time. Because when I went and saw X-Men Apocalypse and when I went and saw Batman v Superman, there were a lot of people who were asking, who is that? Who is that? And I was like, that's Wonder Woman. That's the Flash. That's Aquaman. That's Cyborg. And then here in X-Men Apocalypse, oh, that's Cyclops. Oh, that's Jean Grey. Oh, that's Nightcrawler. Oh, that's Jubilee that's in the background. But of course, everybody is going to know who Wolverine is, Hugh Jackman's, because he has been around the longest and he's the most main central character out of these. So yeah, X-Men Apocalypse, I definitely can agree with that being at the list. But getting to my next one, I also have another controversial one here. And unfortunately, it does fall into the realm of a superhero film, and it's a comic book movie. But I'm going off of movies of what I saw this year that were released in theaters by major studio companies. I'm going with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. Now, I gotta say that I did not have high expectations for this film at all, because I thought the last Michael Bay directed one was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. It was better than some of the Transformers films we've been getting lately. But one of the main complaints that everybody had with the first TMNT film was the look of them, how they looked too CGI, and how they didn't give us enough time with the Turtles. This film, they took that and they fixed it. We got a lot more screen time with the Turtles, and they fixed the overall look of the Turtles as well. But once again, we have a film where it tried to shoehorn way too many storylines into one movie. I mean, here you're trying to shoe in Krang, and you're trying to sue in the new Shredder, Super Shredder, and you're trying to throw in Baxter Stockman in here. Then you also have the creation of Bebop and Rocksteady, and you have the introduction as well of Casey. And then you don't even get Casey right on top of that. I mean, not only did they even change the look up, they changed his backstory, his motivation. That's fine. Do what you will. But I felt like it was trying to do too much too quick, and it was trying to introduce way too many things. There it could have easily just stuck to having Bebop and Rocksteady be the main villains of the film, and then you can do the little Krang shot at the very end in a post-credit scene or something. But don't try to cram all of these villains into one. This is an example of Spider-Man 3, where you're trying to cram so many villains into one movie because you're trying to set up the universe. And it just severely disappointed me. It just severely disappointed me as being a one who loves the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and grew up with the original cartoons. To see the way that it was treated in this film absolutely angered me. I'm not saying that it's not as bad as some of the other ones we have on this list, but it just severely just disappointed me. I thought they would have did a lot better with this. But Andrew, what have you seen Out of the Shadows, man?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, and because if I try to say that I have, it'll drag this video out. I did not see it. After I saw the first one, directed by Michael Bay, it absolutely irritated me. What they did with the Shredder irritated me. Everything about that irritated me. So I did not go see the sequel.
Oh, and on top of that, they didn't even explain how the Shredder has a different actor. They have a different actor playing the Shredder now. They didn't even explain that. They just said, okay, we're just going to roll with it. They don't explain anything. Like I said, and Tyler Perry, no offense to him, I thought he did a great portrayal of Baxter Stockman. I thought that Seamus did a great job of playing of Rocksteady, and I even enjoyed the guy who played Bebop. They were the livelihood of the film, and I think if you would have stuck to just having them be the villains, it would have been a lot better of a film. But yeah, what do you have for your number 4, man? I think this is another controversial one that a lot of people are going to want to talk about, and they probably agree with.
You know it is. And my number 4 pick is the Ghostbusters remake. It is not that it was an all-female cast. It was not that at all. It was that they shoehorned in so many freaking Easter eggs to the original Ghostbusters that it was just annoying. That's all I'm going to say.
Pretty much, yeah. And then this is also on my list as well, but I'll let you figure out where it falls on my list. But yeah, just kind of briefly speaking on it. Yeah, they felt like the film was just trying to, it was scared to rely on its own source material, scared to essentially go to different places. And look, I'm going to go ahead and say this outright. I did not have a problem with them having an all-female cast. I had no problem with that. Anyone out there who does, you're a sexist deuce. I'm excuse my language, but I'm sorry, you're sexist. There is nothing wrong with changing up the characters to fit the story. I have had to argue with my friend and told him, look, you could have kept this all-male cast and kept the same story, and it still would have been just as bad. The fact that they were women did not hurt the integrity entirety of the film. But yeah, I'll go into more detail on that because that is actually further on down my list. All right, so getting to my number 3 pick, I'm going to go with a film that everybody was looking forward to. This has got Anya Taylor-Joy in it. She's coming off of the success and the hype of the Witch film. Everybody hyped this up, and because it is Ridley Scott's son, everybody was just so hyped up about this film. I'm going with the film Morgan. Morgan was just such a disappointing form of a film. I mean, you have a Ex Machina-esque type film. You still telling the same story about someone that's created in a lab, and then you bring somebody in to test them. This film just horribly disappointed me. I came out of this film not liking it. I mean, and I don't even see how you could categorize this as a horror film. I think the guy, he had a lot to offer, and again, there was nothing wrong with the direction of the film or the story of the film. It's just this film was just overall just kind of boring. Didn't have that much action, didn't have that much plot to it. It's just one of those films where I honestly felt like this could have been a straight to DVD, or it could have been a Netflix film. Again, Anya Taylor-Joy, she was not the problem with the film. I didn't even mind. I'm escaping her Kate Mara. I didn't even mind Kate Mara's character. The twist ending that they had was too predictable. I saw it coming a mile ahead of time. So I think I'm looking forward to what this director has to offer us in the future. But for me, yeah, Morgan wasn't that great. It was a good film. It just started to come apart towards the end of the film. But yeah, that's all I can really say about Morgan without going into too many spoilers or anything. But Andrew, did you get a chance to see Morgan?
Honestly, I didn't even know it was released.
Yeah, man, this is one of those films that kind of got released right before or after the Blair Witch Project remake that we had, so it kind of got lost in the hype of the Blair Witch and some of the other films that got released around the October-September months. I think if they would have saved this film, honestly, for October, it would have did a lot better and took a little bit more time to work on certain things with the story. This could have been a lot better of a film, but then at the same time, we as fans might have had our expectations way too high because this is Ridley Scott's son. This is the man who brought us the Alien franchise and brought us some of the greatest films of all time that we have been introduced to. So I felt like he had a lot of pressure to direct this film. So I can't wait to see what his next film is, but just Morgan was just such a disappointment. But what do you have for your number 3, man? Now, this is one that I'm definitely going to have to argue with you about, but what do you have for your number 3?
And we have already had this argument off camera. My number 3 choice for the worst films of 2016, and it honestly kills me to put this on there because it is such a good, it's actually a good movie. Zootopia. It's not that it was a bad movie, it just, this entire list is my personal opinion, and in my personal opinion, this movie just didn't pull me in. It didn't give me that oomph that you usually expect out of movies like this, and it disappointed me. It wasn't that it was a bad movie. There was nothing wrong with it. I thought it was very well done. It just didn't click with me.
Now, okay, I'm gonna, keep this brief and keep the arguments down. But I gotta say, dude, come on, man, how could you put Zootopia on here, man? I struggled so bad, and this was in my top 10 films of 2016. Zootopia was such a delightful film. The casting of Jason Bateman and all the other voice actors, Idris Elba as a Chief Bogo and all these other characters, it was just such a fantastic film. I just do not understand how you could not just absolutely love this film. I mean, look, the inner kid in me was geeking out so bad.
And I mean, I'm not saying it was a bad movie. It just it didn't click with me like you think it would.
It's kind of
like Moana or any of the other kids' films that came out this year. It didn't snap.
So it's kind of like how you feel about this way, like I feel about Morgan, where Morgan wasn't necessarily a bad film, but it was just really disappointing. And it just, wasn't all as great as it, people somewhat tried to hype it up as. But Zootopia, yeah, that definitely wouldn't have been on my worst list. But hey, man, I stand by your point, man. I see where you're coming from. A comment section, do not get at him too bad. Again, this is our own personal opinions. Post your own thoughts down below about what your list would be. But all right, so getting to my number 2 is one film that we've already mentioned on this list, and of course, surprise, surprise, it's the Ghostbusters remake. Now, I want to again sympathize my thoughts. I'm not saying it's a bad film because of the women. The only problem I had with the theatrical version was Kate McKinnon. I felt like she was acting like she was in a Saturday Night Live sketch. She was way too acting like a cartoon character, like she was just in a Looney Tunes film, just making all these weird faces and noises. And I'm like, look, if you want to do eccentric, that's fine. You're trying to be like Harold Ramis and how eccentric he was. That's fine. But there's a level to where you have to just realize, okay, this is getting a little too out of hand. So yeah, she was one of the things that I didn't like, but again, it was fixed in the extended version, of course. They took out all those weird, eccentric scenes of her and explained a little bit more behind her story. But the villain was one note, so forgettable in the film. Absolutely, I hated the villain. His motivations were stupid. I'm just kind of like, get over it, dude. I think we all feel that way and we all feel left out. They don't do a good job of explaining these portals that this guy is trying to open up. And believe me, 2016 was the year of portals opening up into the sky and things coming out, because we had that in so many films to where I was literally getting sick of it, because not only did you have it in Suicide Squad, but then you also had it in Ghostbusters, and then you had it in this film, and I was like, okay, I am so tired of things getting shot up into the sky. I'm like, we've done that already. I mean, the Avengers did the best version of that, of something being shot in a beam shot into the sky and something coming out. The Avengers did the best with that. But yeah, this film it overall just disappointed me. As a fan and a lover of the original, I felt like they could have stood on their own. The callbacks were just awful. The cameo appearances from the original Ghostbusters was wasted. Dan Aykroyd was wasted. Ernie Hudson was fine. Sigourney Weaver, her cameo at the end was wasted. Bill Murray's character was wasted. And then I like that they made the call back to Harold Ramis and had a bust of his head in the film. That was fine. I felt like you still could have kept this in the same universe as the original Ghostbusters and said maybe this is their daughters or they're in their family line and whatnot. You could have just kept it in the same universe. That way, if you still wanted to do an original Ghostbusters team up with this new Ghostbusters cast, you can, but there's nothing they can do to change it now. But yeah, again, and I want to reiterate, I don't think this is a bad film because of the women in here. Do not think that is why this movie was not good.
The story sucked.
Exactly. The story itself sucked. It was not the characters themselves. Paul Feig is a great director. And if this does get a sequel, I'm definitely going to go check it out because I'm curious to see if he can come back and redeem himself. But yeah, Andrew, what do you have for your number 2 pick? I believe it's one that we had mentioned already early on this list.
Yes, it is. My number 2 pick was Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And I've already explained why this movie makes me cringe and want to rip my hair out. So I'm not going to do it again because that would just drag this out even longer.
Alright, man. So my number 1 on my list, surprise, surprise, everyone saw this one coming. This was a film that everyone had hyped up. Everyone thought that this was going to be so good. And then the trailers were subpar. And then you had that History National Geographic special that they tried to use. This was such a horrible schlock fest of a film. This is not one that only disappointed me. It was just bad and just garbage all the way around. Independence Day resurgence, or as I call it, regurgence, because that is exactly what I wanted to do after I saw this film. I wanted to regurgitate everything I had had. This was an awful film. The story makes absolutely no sense. And spoiler alert, the way that they're killing off the characters to introduce these new characters who we don't even care about. Again, we have Chris Hemsworth's little brother, Liam Hemsworth, trying to, break out into this role and try to be this character. Then you have Will Smith's character be killed off screen, which is, oh yeah, his son got killed off screen. And then, it's like, okay, well, here's his son. You have him introduced. I absolutely did not like that either. Independence Day resurgence or regurgence, whatever you want to call it, was just an awful film. And the title that they had before, which was ID Forever, that was just awful stupid as well. Now that when I watch the original Independence Day's resurgence, this has been ruined for me because I know the fate of the characters and what happens to them. This film was so disappointing. It was just a bad film overall. Unlike the other films which had something going for them, this one had absolutely nothing going for it. Nothing. Even the fact that you have the aliens coming back and we're supposed to be more knowledgeable and more advanced and more prepared for these films, it was just awful. I mean, I would have rather have seen London Has Fallen more so than this, than I would want to see Independence Day again. This is one I'm definitely not going to put to my Blu-ray collection. I cannot recommend anyone seeing this film. If you want to check it out when it comes out on cable, fine. If you want to check it out on Netflix when it's available on there, be my guest. But I do not recommend you go out and get this film, especially if you are a lover and praise the original so much. I can see why Will Smith did not want to come back for this film. I don't even think Will Smith could have saved this film. It was bad. But speaking of Will Smith, now we're getting to your number one pick, man, for the worst movie of 2016. Something that we have also debated about off screen as well, and something that we actually did a video on a few weeks ago. Andrew, what is your number one pick, man?
Before I get to the number one pick, I got to give Independence Day Resurgence a new name. It is now Independence Day Vomit. That is what I will forever refer to that movie as, because you were right, that thing was just god-awful. But there was one movie I view that was absolutely worse than any of the other ones I put on my list, and even that god-awful piece of crap. And that is, and I'm going to get so much hate for this, you can send death threats. My Instagram name is neospace_Cloudian. Direct message me if you want to, send me death threats. I don't care. Because this movie was terrible, and I don't care what you say to defend it. Suicide Squad. You have literally the worst combination of actors and actresses. You've got Jared Leto doing everything he can to ruin this movie. He's like a mixture of freaking Ace Ventura and a cat. And then you've got Will Smith doing everything he can to save the movie. Everything. And then you've got freaking Rick Flag, which is, all I can call him is a chicken chomping exposition machine. Because he pretty much just says whatever the freaking plot needs him to. They wasted Katana, they wasted El Diablo. The villains didn't make any freaking sense whatsoever. And all Enchantress did was look like the wacky, wavy, inflatable, flailing tube man standing outside car dealerships. That movie was a complete piece of crap, and I don't care what you say to defend it, because it was terrible. The only two good things that came out of that movie were, well, three. The ending credit scene between Bruce Wayne and Amanda Waller. Spoiler, by the way. Let's see. Harley Quinn, because I do have to agree, as much as I hated Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, she was really good at what she did. And Will Smith's Deadshot. That's it. I'm not going to go into Suicide Squad any further. If you want to see my views, go back and look at our review of Jared Leto's Joker. I go into complete detail and completely ruin the movie. That is my number one pick for the worst movies of 2016. Suicide.
Oh my gosh, man. Now, and I know some people are going to be like, well, hey, Mike, why didn't you put that on your list? To me, it was that was more so of Warner Brothers being reactionary to the awful reviews that came out for Batman v Superman. They meddled with the original direction of the film, and I actually thought about putting this on my worst list. It's not that far down. It's actually number 7 on my list if we were to actually do a full top 10 list, where I do top 10 and then Andy13 does top 10. That would have actually probably fallen at number 6 or possibly number 7 for me. Yeah, everything he said, I for the most part agree with. I do not agree with the whole Jared Leto Joker. Now, if you're going based on what you saw in the theater, I can understand why you would feel that way. But just speaking, praises of the extended edition, it showed more so of the psychopath that Jared Leto is as the Joker. It showed more of this relationship that he has with Harley Quinn and how it really is an abusive relationship. I mean, they completely skipped the scene where she literally gets lobotomized by the Joker. It shows that he did not care about her in the beginning of the relationship. I agree with what he said about Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag was just pretty much wasted here. And I think the most disappointing thing, once again, it was Incubus. It was a wasted character. Did not like him. Cara Delevingne as the Enchantress, or as a wacky inflatable tube man, as people would call her. Absolutely wasted. Karen Fukuhara as Katana. Wasted. Ike Baron. Everything in here in this film was just really wasted. Jay Hernandez as El Diablo was wasted on here as well. Jai Courtney was actually a standout here. I actually enjoyed what he did with Captain Boomerang.
Courtney did great. I can give him that. He was awesome, and I mean, El Diablo, had they not did what they did with him, would have been great. Awesome. They could have even done a freaking spinoff movie and explained why he lost his face.
And even the character of Adewale, and I'm not going to try to say the rest of his name, as Killer Croc. I enjoyed his take on Killer Croc. Viola Davis, again, her and Ben Affleck in this film, as well as Ezra Miller in here reprising their roles from previous films of what we've seen, was an absolute must in this film. Adam Beach, I can't really say much on him. I knew he was not, if you know the comic book story, you know that he dies right away. He was one of the first ones to get their head blown off to make an example. So I can't really say much on him, but yeah, I can see why this would be on your top list. I can see why this would be a lot of people's top list, because this film had the potential to do something so great. We've never had a film where the villains are the main central of the story. I mean, and then you're coming off of Deadpool, which took the anti-hero story to a new level. I think Warner Brothers was just too reactionary. They meddled too much with what David Ayer wanted to do with this film. And yeah, it was just completely bastardized from the original version that he had. I definitely can recommend you picking up the extended cut. It adds a lot more scenes in there. I think it adds in maybe about 10 minutes worth of scenes in there. But those scenes are very crucial and very important. They make callbacks to the new cinematic universe that we have for DC. But yeah, guys, that is our list of the top 10 films that we thought were just god-awful. We thought were the worst films of 2016. Let us know your worst films down below. You can either do your top 10 or you can do their top 5. I'm curious to know what you say. If you like the video, please remember to rate, comment, and as well, if you like content like this, make sure you subscribe. We always talk movies with, getting tongue-tied. It's late, guys. It's very late. We always love to talk about movies and talk about different subjects and topics and break them down. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, and if you do subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that bell so you can get a notification every time a video comes up. Also, got to give a quick plug to Bandzoogle. Make sure you guys use the link that I have in the description below. Also, make sure you follow my man Andy13 at Neospace Cloudian. Definitely check him out. If you guys want to send him some death threats, or you just want to DM him some messages on Instagram about his choices, go right ahead. If you guys want to send me some DMs, you can follow me on the social media platforms at I Am Testify. I'm willing to defend my choices. Again, some of the films I had on there were not necessarily bad films, but they just extremely disappointed me. Not because I went in with high expectations, but because the films could have been a lot better than what they were. Again, some honorable mentions on here as well. I will throw out Blair Witch. I thought it was a good remake and somewhat of a good sequel, but the ending just felt the same like the original. It was way better than Book of Shadows, that film that we shouldn't even talk about. Some other honorable mentions on here that, again, weren't so great. Again, I mentioned Suicide Squad on my part. I thought that wasn't that good. But yeah, let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, make sure you all have a blessed day, and peace out, everybody.